Good evening, I'm Jim Lara. On the NewsHour tonight, a newsmaker interview with Secretary of State Warren Christopher, and two younger views of presidential politics. Kwame Holman reports on a mock convention. Margaret Warner talks to 6 college newspaper editors. It all follows our summary of the news this Tuesday.
Major funding for the NewsHour with Jim Lara has been provided by the Archer Daniels Midland Company, ADM, supermarket to the world. And by New York Life, yet another example of New York Life's wise investment philosophy. And by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, and by the annual financial support from viewers like you.
Senator Bob Dole was projected to be the big winner in today's 8 Republican primaries. That's according to data gathered by the commercial television networks. Minnesota and Washington State are holding caucuses tonight. Kwame Holman has some of the results.
Senator Bob Dole of Kansas took a big step toward capturing the Republican nomination for president tonight. The major television networks have predicted Dole the winner in all 8 of today's primaries. In Georgia, Vermont, Connecticut, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and Colorado, where the polls just closed. Let's look at the numbers. In Georgia, with 46% of the precincts reporting, Dole has 39%, Buchanan close behind with 35%, his best showing to date in these primaries. Alexander and Forbes bring up the end. In Vermont, Dole, with 44% of the precincts reporting, Dole has 41%, Forbes is second with 18%, followed by Buchanan, then Alexander. In Connecticut, with 61% of the precincts reporting, Dole with a big 54% margin. Second is Forbes with 20%, followed by Buchanan, then Alexander. In Maine, Dole got 45% with 24% of the precincts reporting. Buchanan was second with 27%, Forbes, then Alexander. In Maryland, with 19% of the precincts reporting, Dole has 56%, Buchanan second with 18%, followed by Forbes, then Alexander. In Massachusetts, with 9% of the precincts reporting, Dole got 48%, has 48% so far, Buchanan 27%, then Forbes, then Alexander. And it appears the Dole sweep has chased another hopeful from the Republican race. There are reports that Indiana Senator Richard Lugar will announce tomorrow that he's ending his bid for the Republican nomination.
The United States dispatched an anti-terrorism team to Israel today. Special bomb-detecting equipment was also sent. President Clinton said the people and the equipment were to help the Israeli government and the Palestinian Authority combat Hamas, the militant Muslim group. Hamas has claimed responsibility for 4 suicide bombings in Israel in the last 9 days, in which 57 people have been killed. The president discussed the bombings during a speech to local government officials in Washington.
These are desperate and fanatic acts aimed not just at killing innocent people, including innocent children, but at killing the growing prospects for peace in the Middle East. They must not succeed. The United States has always stood with the people of Israel through good times and bad, and we stand with them today.
In Israel today, the government rejected a truce offer from Hamas. Israeli troops barricaded Palestinian residents inside hundreds of West Bank villages and towns and sealed the homes of 10 suspected Hamas members. The Israeli military commander in the West Bank said more than 100 suspected militants have been arrested. Palestinian President Yasser Arafat said the Israeli actions go completely against the peace accords. We'll talk to Secretary of State Christopher about the Middle East right after this news summary. The Senate voted today to impose additional sanctions on Cuba. The 74-22 vote came 10 days after Cuban jets shot down 2 U.S. civilian planes, killing 4 Cuban Americans. The legislation will help Cuban exiles take legal action in U.S. courts against foreign investors in Cuba. Debate on the Senate floor was heated.
I say enough is enough. Let's get rid of Fidel Castro. Let's do it in this century. Let's start with this bill, and then let's get serious.
Pay attention, Cuban Americans. Pay attention. The bulk of you are not going to be benefited from this. It's the fat cats that are going to get the money, not you. Pay attention to this bill, and pay attention to those who would seek to have this legislation passed and what their interests are.
The bill now goes to the House. In economic news today, the Commerce Department released 2 indicators showing a rise in January manufacturing production. Orders for durable goods, such as aircraft and automobiles, advanced 0.2%. Factory orders rose 0.5%. Minnie Pearl died last night in Nashville. The longtime country comedian suffered a stroke 10 days ago. She was known for her trademark Howdy and her straw hat, complete with price tag. Minnie Pearl's real name was Sarah Ophelia Cannon. She was 83 years old. And that's it for the news summary tonight. Now it's on to Secretary of State Christopher, a mock political convention, and 6 college newspaper editors. We do go first tonight to the Secretary of State, Warren Christopher, who is with us now for a newsmaker interview. Mr. Secretary, welcome.
Hello, Jim.
On Israel first, can these bombings be stopped?
We can certainly make a strong effort to stop them, Jim. There's probably no foolproof way to stop them, no absolute assurance, but we're going to work very hard. We're going to aid Israel in every way we can to stop these bombings.
The actions that Israel has taken in the last 48 hours, 24 hours, et cetera, the closing down of travel back and forth between the West Bank and Gaza and Israel, the various things I just reported in the news summary, are those the things they should be doing?
Well, those are decisions taken by the Israeli government. There's a determination there to be firm. After all, as you said, what's gone on here in 9 days, 4 major attacks, 57, 58, or 59 people killed. Obviously, something had to be done. They've taken very firm action. Their actions are somewhat similar to what they've done before to try to prevent these terrorists, these people who are willing to give up their lives in order to kill innocent Israelis, to keep them from coming into Israel.
The decision by the U.S. today, by the President today, to send an anti-terrorism team and some bomb detecting equipment, that's more symbolic than anything else, is it not?
No, it's more than that, Jim. Prime Minister Peres called the President yesterday, and they discussed this, and Prime Minister Peres asked that we send this bomb detecting equipment. It's quite highly sophisticated equipment. We went to the manufacturer last night. He had only 7 of those large devices there. We arranged to get all of them and put them on a plane and take them out today. Now, they can be very useful to the Israelis.
What kind of things are they?
Well, they're quite sophisticated sensing equipment, which can be used at a border or at a barrier to make sure that whoever goes through there isn't carrying a bomb. They're perhaps a larger, more sophisticated version of what you see going into an airport.
I see.
In addition to that, Jim, we're going to be sending out a team of very experienced people who will help coordinate the work between the Palestinians and the Israelis and other countries in the region. So it has some symbolic importance, but it has some very tangible importance. And it's only the beginning. The President has urged us in the strongest term to respond to the Israelis' request, and some indication of how rapidly we're going to respond is Peres' request was yesterday about midday, and by this morning we had those devices on an airplane headed for Israel.
Now, Israeli spokesmen, including the Israeli ambassador to the United States who was on this program last night, said that the Palestinian Authority under Yasser Arafat must also do more to combat Hamas and these terrorists. What do you think about that? About what the authority has done thus far and what it must do now?
Well, they have started doing more in the last few days. I think that Chairman Arafat has got to deal with the military infrastructure of Hamas, got to deal with the people in Hamas who are responsible for conducting these raids. There was a time in the last few weeks when Chairman Arafat was trying to have a dialogue with Hamas, trying to bring them into some coordination with him. I think that effort has failed, and now he's really going to have to bear down on them. He's going to have to realize that his own survival is at stake as well as the peace process.
Why is his own survival at stake?
Jim, these attacks are just as much against Arafat as they are against Peres and the Israelis. They're trying to prevent the Palestinian Authority from governing. They're trying to end this peace process. They're trying to reverse the peace process, put it back into the fighting days. So Hamas is trying to prevent the peaceful integration of the West Bank that's been going on. under cooperation between Arafat and Paris.
Now, you've talked about the contacts that have gone back and forth, communications gone back and forth between the Israeli government and the U.S. government. What about communications with Arafat and his authority and the U.S.?
Oh, we've been talking with him. I talked to him on the telephone frequently and very recently, and I emphasized to him the time for talk had ended, the time for rhetoric had ended.
You told him what you just told me?
Yes, sir, I did.
And what did he say?
He said, we're going to do everything we can. He said, I understand that the time has come when we have to take some very firm action, and he has. He's been making arrests, rounding up people, and I think, really we're going to have to watch for his actions now. We're going to be monitoring it very closely. We're giving him some aid. I think it would be a short-sighted, self-defeating to cut off that aid, but the aid shouldn't go forward unless he continues to cooperate.
What do you think about the Israeli position that if in fact the authority under Arafat does not move strongly enough against these Hamas people within their areas, that the Israeli government will move in there and do it? How do you feel about that?
Well, we'll have to watch that develop, Jim. The Israeli government will make the decisions they regard as in their own self-interest. We have to ask ourselves, have to remember what it is that is causing them to act. They're acting because of the deaths. They're acting because of the death of innocent people, innocent children. Obviously, the government has a right of self-survival. They have a right to protect themselves, and that's what they're doing at the present time.
Now, there's another whole part to this, Mr. Secretary, of course, outside what's happening there on the ground, and that has to do with the diplomatic part.
Yes.
For instance, a big point was made today that Syria has not said a word of condemnation or said anything about these bombings. How should we interpret that?
Well, Jim, we think that all the people in the region should not only condemn the bombings, but should cooperate with efforts to make sure that Hamas cannot repeat this. You know, there's quite a difference this time around. The peace process has made enough difference so that Israel can look to its neighbors, look to Jordan, they can look to Egypt and expect cooperation. And I talked to Foreign Minister Farak Shara of Syria today and urged him to take steps to ensure that Hamas could not use Syria as a launching place for this kind of an attack. But we're not singling out Syria. We're saying that to all the neighbors in the region. Indeed, Jim, I'm going to be meeting tomorrow with the ambassadors from all the countries in the region, encouraging cooperation in fighting this terrorism, also encouraging what is really our second purpose here, and that is to preserve and renew the peace process. In the long run, the peace process is the answer to this kind of terror.
What did the Syrian foreign minister say to you?
Well, he took it on board. We had a vigorous discussion.
Hamas has an office, right? It does, very openly has an office in Damascus, does it not?
It does have an office in Damascus, and I called that to his attention. And I told him I thought that fact was not a very strong signal to be sending at the present time.
Do you have any kind of intelligence information that traces these acts back to that office in Damascus in any way whatsoever?
Jim, we don't have any information of that kind. I don't talk about intelligence matters, but we're not trying to say that this particular attack or this particular series of attacks was attributable to the Syrians or any other country. We're simply saying that this is the time to crack down on Hamas because they've claimed credit. I think particularly in our sights at the present time is Iran, because they've been supporting Hamas, openly supporting Hamas financially, by tactical advice, and I would really want to draw a distinction between Iran and the other neighbors. We're calling this to the attention of all the neighbors, but I think the world needs to know that Iran bears a heavy responsibility for its support of Hamas.
What can you do about Iran besides calling the world's attention to them?
Well, as you know, we've cut off all trade with Iran, and we've urged our allies and trading partners not to have preferential deals, not to do things for Iran that give them more money to support this kind of terrorism. We're really alone in trying to isolate Iran, but we're going to continue working at it. We're not going to give up.
Two countries that are often mentioned as doing a lot of business with Iran, Germany and France, both of whom are big allies of ours. Have they been contacted officially and directly by the U.S. government in the last 24 hours? Say, hey, come on, put some heat on Iran?
Well, not in the last 24 hours perhaps, but continually over the last several months, and we'll be contacting them starting tomorrow. We're going to have a major diplomatic endeavor dealing with those countries who have been having closer relations with Iran than we think they should. But it's an overall effort, Jim. First priority here is to stop the terrorism, encouraging other nations to join us in that endeavor, and second, to try to renew and preserve the peace process.
The peace, most everyone is now saying, Mr. Secretary, that unless these bombings are stopped, and stopped now, I mean, there can't be another one tomorrow and another one after that, the peace process is over because of just the fear and that of the fear of politics that will be present in Israel. Do you agree with that, that it is a short fuse now?
I think we have to move very dramatically and effectively at the present time. There's no assurance that we can absolutely stop them, but the President and I and the rest of our government are going to be working very hard to assist the Israelis. Clearly, unless we get this stopped, the peace process is going to be harmed by this endeavor. No question about that, Jim. But we don't give up easily. We've got a big stake in this. It's very much in our national interest to pursue it, and we will.
And do you have the feeling that there's somebody out there helping you besides Israel and the Palestinian Authority? Is anybody else really involved in trying to do something about this at this point?
Oh, absolutely. That's the difference between now and how it would have been before the peace process. The Prime Minister of Jordan, Mr. Kabari, made a very good statement today. We can expect Jordan's support on this. We're sure that we'll have support from Egypt as well. We expect other countries in the region to join us in this endeavor. This is going to be a major diplomatic endeavor to see if we can't put more pressure on Hamas and to try to make sure, and Islamic Jihad, and make sure there's not a repetition.
And do you think you're going to be able to prevent countries like Syria and others from allowing Hamas members in as a kind of a safe haven for their bombing enterprises?
That'll be our aim, Jim. It won't be perfect, but we'll make strides.
All right. Changing subjects here quickly, Mr. Secretary, on Cuba. Cuba reported in the news summary just now that the Senate passed the bill that tightens the sanctions. When that's going to the House now, if and when that bill comes to the President, is he going to sign it?
Yes, that has been worked out between Congress and the President. You know, with the shooting down of our 2 aircraft and the killing of those 4 civilians, there was a wave of indignation, a natural wave, that went through this country and went through the Congress as well. And I think the passage of this bill is a reflection of that. It does provide a right of action for Cubans here or others here in the United States who have had their property confiscated. It tries to focus on those companies that might be dealing in Cuban properties or affecting Cuban properties. But the important thing to keep in mind is that this action by Congress is a direct reflection of that unjustified shooting down of the planes. I've been just back from a trip through Latin America, and I was struck that every place I went, the countries involved, even though they might have a tactical difference with us on how to deal with the Cuba situation, recognized that the action of Cuba here was a violation of international law and condemned it in those terms.
What was the consensus about why Castro and his people did this? Does everybody believe they were looking for a confrontation with the United States, or was just a serious error made, or was there a consensus?
Jim, I don't think even in Latin America there's any way to plumb President Castro's mind. There's a lot of speculation about it. The best informed judgment seemed to be that President Castro thought that there was getting to be too much political freedom, or at least the move in that direction unnerved him, and he thought he had to lash back. Now, this particular shooting down is not in isolation. As you know, he has taken some very harsh actions against dissidents. He's taken some very harsh actions against those who are supporting the civil rights, human rights cause in Cuba. The shooting down was obviously the most dramatic, obviously the most harmful, but over the last 3 or 4 weeks, on the political side of things, that is, on the human rights side of things, Castro has gone back from very slight progress that he seems to be making. That was recognized throughout Latin America. I think there was a sense of disappointment that a very modest steps in an encouraging direction had been reversed by Castro. And what a disappointment that was, because You know, he's the only non-democracy in the entire Western Hemisphere. It was so rewarding to go to Latin America, find 34 out of the 35 countries practicing democracies, and I think that leaves Cuba very much isolated.
Now, you very pointedly on your Latin American trip did not go to Colombia because it got on the State Department on your list for not doing enough to combat drug trafficking. What is our relationship with Colombia now as a result of that?
Well, you know, we have that certification process. We have to look at the facts. We have to determine what we think is a most accurate appraisal. The statute requires us to decertify countries that we regard as not cooperating with our drug enforcement efforts. It was very hard for us to conclude that a country whose top echelon of officials has so much corruption in it, it was very hard for us to feel that they were really cooperating with us, and so we reached that conclusion. We don't like to reach those conclusions with respect to any country, but we felt justified in doing so. In the past, that certification procedure, I think, has had a good effect on a number of countries because they know they're going to be reviewed. We hope that the decertification will cause Colombia to correct its ways, that we can sometime in the future certify them again. Obviously, we would like to do that, but it'll depend upon whether there is or is not good cooperation.
Is the situation getting worse in Colombia rather than better as far as corruption at the top related to drugs?
Well, it's certainly worse than it was last year. Last year we did not decertify them, and we've done so this year. It is an evaluation we have to make every year, and the level of corruption is such that we found we could not certify them this year.
All right. Mr. Secretary, thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim.
Still to come on the NewsHour tonight, a mock convention and 6 college newspaper editors. But first, this is Pledge Week on public television. We're taking a short break now so your public television station can ask for your support. That support helps keep programs like ours on the air.
I'm Kathy Smith. Let me ask you a question. Why are you watching the NewsHour this evening? Well, I'll tell you why I watch. I'm impressed by the objective way news is presented on the NewsHour with Jim Lehrer. Prominent spokespersons on both sides of an issue are there live to respond to sharp questions, and we get to hear their answers unedited. Nothing gets left on the cutting room floor. No one gets quoted out of context. We see the entire exchange as it unfolds. Now, for me, that's the essence of objective reporting. And that's the kind of journalism you support when you make a contribution to Oregon Public Broadcasting. And when you add up all the other shows you enjoy on OPB, you're looking at a tremendous bargain. Just compare that to what you have to pay for your daily paper. And tonight, there's an exciting way for your membership dollars to go even farther when you support OPB. A special group of current OPB members have made contributions above and beyond their regular membership. And for the next 10 minutes, the OPB Partner Member Challenge Fund will match your contribution dollar for dollar up to $1,000. OPB thanks these current members who challenge you to become a member of OPB right now. We're going to start the clock. 10 minutes. The challenge is on, and we want to hear from all of you. Please give us a call. In Portland, call 245-2345. Elsewhere in Oregon and Southwest Washington, wherever you're watching, really, call toll-free 1-800-245-2346. You know, you may feel like you're an active member of Oregon Public Broadcasting because you're watching us now, but is your membership current? With such busy lives, it's easy to forget to renew, but you can change that right now by calling one of our phone volunteers, these wonderful people here tonight. OPB thanks you for your ongoing support. Listen to the special gifts that we have for you tonight. They're actually pretty good. If you're able to support OPB at a higher level, think about this. Right now, for a pledge of $75, you can have this handsome OPB black and gold collage tankard mug. Or how about an investment of $125 for this matching OPB black and gold sweatshirt? You can wear the sweatshirt, put some beer in the mug, and enjoy yourself. Now then there's a $60 contribution to OPB that brings you this delightful book, Where to Find the Oregon in Oregon by Bridget Beatty McCarthy. It's a comprehensive guide to Oregon's special places that represent the essence of the state, plus a listing of establishments whose products or services offer a local or regional experience. This easy-to-use book is yours with a $60 donation to OPB. And remember, we're doing a matching pledge right now, the next 10 minutes, in Portland, 245-2345, or toll-free anywhere in our viewing area, 1-800-245-2346. 3 great gifts and 3 great ways to support TV worth watching.
I'm Scott Simon. Maybe you recognize me from the radio. I host National Public Radio's Weekend Edition on Saturday, and it can be heard on the stations of Oregon Public Broadcasting every Saturday morning from 5 a.m. to 10 a.m. But I'm looking at you tonight to ask you to call the numbers on your screen to become a member of the Oregon Public Broadcasting family. The television station you're watching now is the only place you can see many of your favorite public television programs like Mystery or Masterpiece Theater or 7 Days or the McNeil-Lehrer NewsHour or Frontlines. And the only way we can continue to bring you those programs is if you call the numbers on your screen right now and join us in supporting public broadcasting. It's not only the best television programming that's available, it's programming that comes to you without commercial interruptions. But it's not exactly free. We need to pay for it. We need to pay the people who produce it, which is why we're not embarrassed to come to you and ask you for your help. So we hope you'll become a member of Oregon Public Broadcasting. Watch television, listen to radio, or we hope both. Thank you.
Just about 7 minutes left to participate in our matching dollar-for-dollar pledge. We'd like you to enjoy an evening with Rick Steves, Public TV's popular host of Travels with Rick Steves, compliments of OPB. You can do that when you contribute $120 to Oregon Public Broadcasting. You're going to receive a pair of tickets to a reception and his lecture on Sunday, March 31st at the Northwest Service Center at 6 p.m. Plus, you're going to get 2 books, Best Travels in Europe and Europe 101, a guide to museums throughout Europe. And of course, the books are autographed by Rick himself. So don't miss this opportunity to meet Rick Steves. And all it takes is your donation of $120 to Oregon Public Broadcasting. If you're calling from Portland, the number is 245-2345. Or for your convenience, we do have a toll-free number for pledges anywhere in our viewing area. And that number is 1-800-245-2346. When you sit down to watch a program like NewsHour, you're spending your time wisely. And when you make a pledge, you're spending your money wisely too. Right now, I'm asking you to give something back to this important service. Call now with a contribution of financial support because you're wise enough to understand the value of really great television. Just a quick reminder about the thank you gifts we're offering tonight. Take a look at this terrific-looking OPB black and gold tankard mug. Isn't it handsome? I think so. For a pledge of $75, we'll send one right out to you. Also, you can have a matching OPB black and gold sweatshirt if you support OPB with a $125 pledge. Also, remember, we're offering you a $10 gift certificate tonight to the OPB Store of Knowledge. That's when you contribute $55 or more to OPB on your credit card. The OPB Store of Knowledge is chock full of items that will stimulate, educate, and entertain your entire family. I'm looking at the clock right now. Shows that we have 5 minutes left for this matching pledge break. Remember, we have a group of people who are OPB contributors who are willing to match your pledge tonight in the next 5 minutes, dollar for dollar, up to $1,000. So please pick up the phone and make that call now. Now, just ask for your $10 gift certificate when you do make that contribution of $55 or more tonight to OPB. And be sure you use your credit card for speedy delivery of your thank you gift. The numbers are simple. Remember, if you're calling from Portland, I'm going to give you this number all evening long. The number is 245-2345. From anywhere else in our viewing area, all of Oregon and southwestern Washington, please call our toll-free number at 1-800-245-2346. So, we'd like you to take this opportunity to demonstrate your extra support for television that, of course, is a cut above the ordinary. And you can put your $75, $120, or $125 pledge on Visa, MasterCard, Discover, or American Express. If you're calling from Portland, let me remind you again, that number is 245-2345. And for your convenience, we do have a toll-free number for pledges coming anywhere else in our viewing area. That number again is 1-800-245-2346. Openness is the heartbeat of the American system of government. The decision to explore both sides of controversial issues is really the hallmark of the NewsHour. Issues are laid out for us, they're debated, and then we make up our minds. It's as stimulating as it is informative. So if you feel you benefit from OPB's commitment to promote reasoned debate on television, please take time to support this station with a generous pledge. Let me just remind you of something. We don't get money from the government like we did 20 years ago. We do get generous donations from corporations and from individuals and from wealthy individuals who can afford to give us a great deal of money. But 50% of the cost of the program, and we have to buy all the programs you're watching, they're not free anymore. 50% of the cost is borne by viewers like you. If you agree with me that television news should be more than a stimulant to excite the emotions, if you agree that this is a wonderful program and it should continue on Oregon Public Broadcasting, the NewsHour, please pick up that phone now. We have just a little over 2 minutes left in this matching pledge break. And if you call now, within 2 minutes and 30 seconds, whatever you donate tonight will be matched by a group of Oregon Public Broadcasting supporters. If you believe that television ought to speak to your mind and challenge your intellect, then I urge you to join me in supporting OPB and the NewsHour. So go ahead, grab that phone and call in a pledge. We have some wonderful people answering the phones tonight, our volunteers in the studio. If you're calling from Portland, the number is 245-2345. Again, you're probably going to get tired of hearing me say it, but we want you to use the numbers. For your convenience, we do have a toll-free number for pledges that come in from anywhere in our viewing area. That's 1-800-245-2346. This is your chance to help shape the future of television. Don't let it slip through your fingers. And now we would like to tell you a little more about what we're offering tonight. We have 3 great gifts. We have the black and gold tankard. We have the black and gold sweatshirt. We have this book, Where to Find the Oregon in Oregon, which we'll send out for you. For the donations that we're asking you to make tonight, please call us and give us as much as you feel you can, just to make sure that this great programming will continue on Oregon Public Broadcasting unabated. And we have 1 minute and 13 seconds, I was just told, to tell you that is the time left to make a pledge that will be matched by a group of supporters who are going to see that any amount of money donated by you, up to $1,000, will be matched tonight. So please call us right now. We're hoping to make a whole lot of money tonight. We have some wonderful programming for you. We'll be going back to the NewsHour shortly, letting you see what's happening in the Republican primaries on the East Coast. So please take the time right now to dial us up. Let us hear from you. Let us know that you support us, because 50% of the cost of this programming comes from you, and we need your support, and we really can't thank you enough for what you do for us throughout the year, and tonight is one night that you can let us know that you're still with us. So I'm looking at the clock now and finding out we have 18 seconds left. Can we hear all the phones ring on the phone banks? That would be so wonderful. Please call if you're calling from Washington. We haven't heard from a lot of people from Southern Washington. Please call us. We're going to go back to the NewsHour for more insights on the leading news stories of the day on member-supported Oregon Public Broadcasting. We'll be back later. Thank you.
You can mail your contribution to Oregon Public Broadcasting, P.O. Box 4373, Portland, Oregon 97208, or call 245-2345. Or 1-800-245-2346, and your phone volunteer will be happy to take your contribution.
Now a preview of the Republican convention. It took place last weekend at Washington and Lee University in Virginia. Kwame Holman was there.
Students at Washington and Lee University in Southern Virginia own one of the oldest traditions in the history of American politics. Every 4 years since 1908, they have held a mock convention to nominate a candidate for president. The convention is always held for the party not currently occupying the White House. Believe it or not, it's a tradition the students take very seriously. The parade down Main Street in small-town Lexington is just the kickoff of the two-day event.
Of course, they're not the last blood of the Republican Party anymore. The has-beens used to be. That's what you're looking for, the future of the Republican Party.
Dude, stop it.
This past Friday and Saturday, Washington and Lee University held its 1996 mock convention. The mostly conservative student body was particularly excited because it was the first Republican convention to be held in 16 years. The students kept with the tradition of inviting to the convention the top political figures of the day. This year, House Majority Whip Tom DeLay and Virginia's senior Senator John Warner, a Washington and Lee graduate himself, attended. Republican National Committee Chairman Haley Barbour spoke Friday evening.
I don't know who our nominee is going to be, and you may tomorrow be the ones who get it right.
And William Bennett, the former education secretary, now chairman of Lamar Alexander's presidential campaign, spoke at the Saturday morning session.
It's great to be here. I've heard about this convention, and there doesn't seem much mock about it. This seems very real. I hope it's as real.
But it was former Vice President Dan Quayle who proved to be the crowd favorite. The reception he got nearly moved him to enter the race for the presidency himself.
With this kind of enthusiasm and this kind of welcome, I think I'm just going to throw away my speech and go ahead and announce right here. Is there any doubt in anyone's mind that a Republican is going back to the White House in November?
What attracts such big names to the mock convention is its impressive success rate. Students at Washington and Lee have chosen correctly the party's ultimate nominee 15 times in 20 tries. They've chosen right every time but once since 1948. And so, during this complex political year, the pressure was on these students not to choose wrong.
I'm not sleeping at night. It is such a tough race. It's up in the air, especially after Arizona. We were counting Forbes out. Now he's back in.
Students at Washington and Lee split into delegations representing all 50 states and the territories, spending weeks researching the candidates, gauging their chances, frequently calling state and county party officials, enlisting the help of political scientists, and closely monitoring the polls. The goal of each delegation is to select the candidate voters back home would select, an easy task for the New Hampshire and South Dakota delegations, for instance, where primaries already have been held, a much tougher decision for states with primaries just days away, like Maryland, where Allison Beard was state delegation chairman.
It was pretty much Dole all the way until, I don't know, I guess 2 months ago, and then we started getting really nervous and furiously phone calling everyone.
On Friday, one day before she had to cast the votes for her delegation, Allison Beard was anticipating chaos on the convention floor.
We're assuming almost that there's going to be a brokered convention because the race has been so close so far.
Freshman John Hughes, the Vermont state chairman, also had some last-minute doubts and called his delegation together to work them out.
The Burlington Free Press guy said he thinks it's going to be Dole and Alexander, with Lugar as the surprise, pulling up the rear.
So he's been in Vermont for the last couple of days, and he's going to keep staying there and keep campaigning real hard there. And he's decided he's going to go visit some other states, but he's going to sleep in Vermont until after the vote, because the Lugar campaign has pretty much decided that Vermont might be the only state they have a chance at winning. So
I see Lugar as being a perfectly plausible candidate.
With Vermont's primary also just days away, the pressure to predict a winner was increasing.
We were supposed to give an idea of how we were going to vote 2 days ago.
What did we say?
And I told him, I said, Dole's the easy thing to say, and that's what I'm going to say right now, but that's not necessarily what's going to come out of my mouth at the convention.
Is Mr. Lee Bandy in, please?
But most of the pressure fell on Chris McNaughton, a Washington and Lee senior and chairman of the South Carolina delegation.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking. I could flip a coin, but all right.
The South Carolina primary was Saturday, decision day at the mock convention. Chris McNaughton knew that once he cast the votes for his delegation, the voters back home would prove him right or wrong within hours.
It's a little bit added pressure because we'll know that night. If we guess wrong, then later that night we'll find out that we were wrong. But I think it's also a lot of pressure because a lot of other states are looking towards South Carolina to find out who they're going to nominate. They're waiting. If we tell them we're definitely going for Dole for a big majority, then they're going to also go that way also. Whereas we could switch it up, and that's going to other states are really looking to us to find out what they're going to do.
On Saturday, Decision Day, student delegates, their parents, and alumni lined up early to attend the final session of the mock convention. One last rousing reception was reserved for the keynote speaker, House Speaker Newt Gingrich.
While amateurs are watching South Carolina today, the sophisticated folks are watching you to find out what's going to happen.
When Gingrich finished, the convention moved on to the business of selecting the Republican nominee for president. But by then, a consensus had formed. There would be no brokered convention. The state delegations were confident.
I called a few of my core contacts, a few reporters in South Carolina, make sure nothing has really changed big. Dole's still leading strong in the polls, and we're going with him.
Basically, I just talked to Chris McNaughton, who's South Carolina's state chairman, and he told me that they think they're going Dole, so I'm pretty firm with my delegate selection. I think I'm going to still give one district to Pat Buchanan, though.
Winner take all, so all 12 for the first 2 ballots are going for Dole.
The great state of Maryland, one of the only states that can claim to be both Yankee and Confederate, gives 3 votes to Pat Buchanan and the remaining 29 votes to the next President of the United States, Senator Bob Dole.
Senator Bob Dole captured all or the majority of delegates in nearly every state, including, of course, his home state of
Kansas gives all 31 of its delegates to its native son, who will take this party on to defeat Bill Clinton and into the next century. I give you Bob Dole.
Dole secured the nomination on the first ballot, with Pat Buchanan, Steve Forbes, and Lamar Alexander finishing far behind.
Okay, well, thanks very much, and I accept the nomination. I appreciate it very much.
And as for the student delegates,
No one could imagine what it would actually be like until we came here, and it's so realistic and such an honor to be a part of it, and it only comes once every 4 years, so we're all just very honored and excited. It's been a great experience.
I agree, definitely. It's been a great experience. We've all put a lot of hard work into it. I think we've all just really learned a lot more about the political process.
The atmosphere here was, I imagine it's just like at the convention, that much excitement. Made me work harder. It was a lot of work. I really enjoyed it, and it gets me interested in politics. I mean, I loved it.
Now, how Campaign 96 is playing out on other college campuses. Margaret Warner has that story.
We're joined now by 6 college newspaper editors. Patrick Strawbridge, a junior at the University of Missouri. Bill Lara, a senior at Dade Community College in Miami. Jeanette Bennett, a senior at Brigham Young University in Utah. Ronald Eister, a senior at the Citadel Military College of South Carolina. Jeremy Hendrickson, a freshman at California's Community College of the Sequoias. And Monica Lewis, a senior at Howard University here in Washington. Welcome, all of you. Jeanette, how does this Republican primary race look to you and your fellow students at BYU?
Well, I think there's a lot of interest in it, but maybe not a lot of excitement. Most students at BYU would say that they're Republican, but there really isn't a favorite. There's no one that they really want to throw their trust and their support behind at this point.
And why is that?
Well, I don't know. I think that it really isn't a good candidate. I think Dole isn't what students want to represent them. Buchanan is perhaps too extreme, and Forbes and Alexander aren't viable candidates at this point either. They're too far behind. So I think many students, although they'd say they're Republican, are giving an unenthusiastic support for Clinton.
Pat, are you seeing the same thing at the University of Missouri?
Definitely. Missouri may be a little bit more liberal than the BYU campus, and I'd say that the people who are most excited about the Republican primaries at Missouri are everyone who likes Bill Clinton, because they see the Republicans failing to put forth a leader who's really bringing a strong mandate or gathering a lot of support, and they really just think that Clinton's almost got it wrapped up at this point.
Ron Eister, you just had the South Carolina primary right in your backyard. Was there the same lack of excitement on campus that your colleagues here
I
saw?
think the primary, which just occurred last Saturday, sparked a lot of excitement, and Citadel is a pretty conservative campus, and with the election coming up, they recognize the need for a pretty drastic change in office, I think. And there is a lot of excitement with Buchanan, but I think Dole has made his presence felt. He was backed by some pretty strong, powerful people in South Carolina, like Carol Campbell and David Beasley. And so I think that most of the people in South Carolina are looking towards Dole, and I can safely speak for a lot of cadets who are going towards that pretty much conservative side with Dole.
Jeremy, how about you out at the Community College of the Sequoias? How does, are you seeing this sort of feeling that there aren't any good candidates out there, or are you sensing what Ron senses at the Citadel?
Well, I think right now we're seeing 4 candidates who are lacking a lot of passion as far as what we can view. I think our feeling is that they're passionate only about being elected president, you know, and man, we want someone to come in there and just you know, a revolutionary, someone that's a reformer, wants to just do an overhaul in America, you know, and our area is mostly conservative, but we desire to see someone in there that would like to completely overturn, you know, things and come in there and do a lot of reform.
Monica, what do you sense on your campus in terms of what students are looking for?
Mostly, I think we're looking for people or a candidate who has our best interests at heart. Howard is a liberal university as opposed to the Citadel or any other conservative institution. And, you know, with the way that Congress and the appropriations that we're trying to get, or the ones that were possibly on the verge of being cut, I think that we want a candidate who is thinking more along our lines and looking for our university and for our race, our, you know, sex, whatever, to prosper in that coming century.
And Bill Lar, what about you? What do you sense on your campus? Is this Republican primary speaking to you and your fellow students?
In a limited way. I think most of my fellow students would ask, where's the none of the above button when they get to the ballot? But again, I agree with what's been said on the table, that most of these candidates don't have the ability to empathize with this market, with this particular strand, college students. They just don't sound perfect. There's a little bit off in every candidate.
But what would you like, describe the ideal candidate to me. What would he or she be saying and doing and acting?
Dynamic, pro-education, looking to save as much as the budget for that purpose as possible, downsizing government, looking for a term, shorter terms in Congress perhaps, in government as a whole, and basically looking not just at the easy stuff to cut off.
Pat, what do you think students are looking for in an ideal candidate, someone who would galvanize the campuses?
If you're talking about the Republican side, I think what would have played a lot better, at least to the college crowd, would have been a moderate candidate. I mean, a younger, moderate candidate who's kind of a Republican Bill Clinton, if you will. When Bill Clinton went through in '92, he was a young candidate. He spoke very clearly to the heart of a lot of issues that affected college students, college loans. I mean, he was a very he is a candidate that a lot of college students could really look up to, and there's just nothing like that. You got 3 guys who all worked in the Nixon White House, which, you know, most of the kids in college these days weren't even alive when Nixon was in the White House. And you got Steve Forbes, who's a millionaire, and I'm pretty sure almost everyone I know doesn't relate to him very well. So.
But you know, you said your campus is very Republican at BYU. What do you think it would take to galvanize, electrify young Republicans and independents on your campus?
Well, I think Dole's views on things are on target, but his personality isn't really engaging. He doesn't have the leadership skills that students our age look for. He's not exciting to listen to, and unfortunately, that's what's needed in a president. You know, that may seem shallow, but we need a leader who can be optimistic and exciting and get us excited about the future as young Americans.
Do you agree with that, Ron?
Yeah, I agree totally with that, and I think that Bob Dole represents a lot of great issues, and his traditional cornerstone to getting back to the values of America are great. But when you look to Pat Buchanan, I think that he has a great charisma. I mean, he knows how to speak to a crowd and reach out to them. But unfortunately, I think some of his issues and his ideals are so extreme that we don't feel secure with him. But again, I mean, I'll reemphasize the fact when he speaks, I mean, he does have a passion, I think, and although he does want to make a change, I think Dole offers a good building block to the future of America. He might not be the person to have great reform, but I think he's going to offer a good building block to future reform, maybe with our generation being involved with politics.
What's your sense of Dole and his, do you agree with this critique? Right issues, wrong persona? What?
Well, for
from
the
the
most
Republican
part,
perspective.
right? For the most part, the issues are pretty well sound. I don't know. I think personally, I agree more with Buchanan on a few issues than I do with Dole. But overall, I do agree that we need somewhere to start from, and Dole is a good starting stone, maybe a building block, like he was saying. I don't know. I think people are looking right now to the character of the person, and really, too, we need a dynamic leader.
Are you all talking more about style than substance?
We see what we can see, and that is whatever brief time we get on television from this candidate or whatever exposition we get to him is not really in depth. So we have to go with what we have. In most cases, unfortunately as it may be, it has to do with how the candidate relates or how we relate to the person on screen.
Monica, where do you think that most students, if we can generalize, where do you think their views come from? I mean, are they rebelling against their parents, or are they very close to their parents' views?
Well, I think it depends on, you have to break that down to parties, and just the generation we grew up in, where it was kind of like the me generation, where you were out to get what you could get and what was best for you, and if your parents felt that the Democratic Party was best for you, then you kind of went along with that. And same goes for Republicans. Personally speaking, I think that I'm just looking at what has been done during my lifetime. I grew up, like we all grew up, in a Republican era, and it wasn't until most of us hit college where the Democrats took over, basically. So whatever the Democratic Party has done in the 4 years that they've been in control, I've kind of been in favor of that, and I really didn't like the way things were in the early 80s.
Ron, compare your own views with those of your parents briefly. I mean, how much are yours separate from them?
Well, I think maybe in terms of my parents and maybe all our parents, I mean, I can't speak for everybody's, but I think my parents seem to emphasize on economic issues. You know, it's kind of like the struggle to survive or the struggle to succeed. And when I'm looking towards a president now, I think I'm trying to emphasize on the social issues. I mean, to be honest, personally, I feel like the economy is so complex, I feel like I can't understand it half the time, but the social issues are more at home with me, and I think, I could comprehend certain things, and, I feel like it affects humanity more than...
And name a couple social issues, meaning what?
Well, just like abortion. I mean, that's a really important issue that this election can't overlook, and just treatment of a middle class, Medicaid, Medicare. I mean, these are all important issues that I think that we need to really listen to, because they're going to affect our generation now and years to come.
Pat, talk to that point about college students and their views and how they compare to their parents.
I think, I mean, most students I know fall somewhere in the middle on the political spectrum. They don't identify very clearly with one side or the other. That's why I think this would have been a great year for a moderate Republican candidate to have had a shot at Clinton. Personally, I support Bill Clinton, so I'm thinking my lucky stars every day that Jack Kemp or Colin Powell or one of those conservative Republicans decide to stay out of the race. I don't think it's unusual that you're seeing more people looking at social issues, and why Pat Buchanan, who speaks a lot to social issues, is getting a lot of attention early on, because, to be honest, the economy is doing pretty well right now. It's on its road to recovery. It's not the focus of the election anymore. There's a new drum to bang on.
Jeanette, where do you stand on what issues are being raised in this Republican primary race? Do you feel that issues that are important to you, either in the short, medium, or long term, are being addressed?
One issue that is getting a little bit of attention that I wish would get more is family values. I think that's the core of a lot of problems, social and economic, in our country, and I don't think that there's been a candidate who's really hit that on the head and used that as a platform. And I think a lot of people, especially where I come from, are interested in family values. That's one topic I'd like to hear more about.
Oh, I just wanted to add, I know watching the debate in South Carolina the other day, I mean, the candidates are doing anything but addressing the issues. I mean, it was just a mudslinging festival, and I mean, how can we be asked to address some of the issues when these candidates really can't even address the issues and speak to us about them? That's what we really need to look towards, is them taking a little more mature approach. And I mean, seeing all these negative ads run, I mean, we talk about financial problems. Well, if Steve Forbes wanted to be so generous, he could donate half the money he's put into these negative ads and rectify some of the problems we're having as a society.
I think the media in general is a little bit at fault for not getting us involved in the issues. Most of the coverage is very horse race. It's more like a sports story. You find out who's ahead, who's behind, who gained how many points, and instead of really addressing the issues and looking into the candidates. And so the coverage that we're getting, that's all we know, is just who's ahead, who's behind, instead of really getting in there.
And are you all covering the national race in your newspapers?
Yes.
Through what, the wires?
Mostly.
I think Jeanette's right about that. I'm talk about, like, we're seeing all the percentages, how Dole is winning over Buchanan, but we're not seeing why he's winning. We're not getting a clear explanation of why he's winning and what these voters and citizens of our country are thinking towards the election. And I think that's something the media should address on, is why they're winning, not just by how many percentages. And who's, because they're getting blasted out of the water, they're going to have to pull out of the race. I mean, if someone's going to pull out of the race, then let's not emphasize that anymore. Let's go towards, why Dole is pulling ahead and, what's the cause of that.
What the issues are.
I think that's a typical criticism of the media during any election, is that they only cover the horse race. But it's also, I think, some fault lies with the candidates. I mean, the candidates know that this isn't the time for issues in an election. This is the time for politics. This is the time to put themselves on top, and then they can start addressing the issues once the convention has been decided and there's a clear candidate. That's when it's time to start debating Bill Clinton. But I mean, it's a horse race, and there's really no way of looking around that. Maybe it shouldn't be, maybe that's not perfect, but that's the way it is.
But I mean, if you really wanted to know about the issues these candidates believe in, that information is available. I mean, how much do you think that students and voters share in the responsibility?
I think you share a lot. If you're going to take yourself to the polls and vote, which I think everyone should, you need to be informed, and it's only in this era now that we've had the advantage of having the media. And in the past, people had to find out their own information, and we need to be students, really, of the election, what's going on.
Do you all sense that in your readership there's an active interest, or is it more apathetic, Jeanette?
There's an interest.
Because I feel like they really care about my family and what happens to us. Each of us make up society, and I feel like Channel 2 realizes that each individual is important.
Channel 2 News brings you stories about the spirit of the Northwest.
$1,000 worth of groceries and more is on the way to an Astoria couple.
Bonnie and Bill McKnight lost a lot in the flood. Channel 2 News and viewers like you are helping them put their lives back together.
We really can't express how much we've appreciated the help from everyone.
Nobody can ever say that this is a heartless world.
Channel 2 News is the spirit of the Northwest. It's not just something we say, it's something we do.